From the center of the galaxy, live on a Monday. This is ForceCenter, a show about Star Wars, pop culture, and the ultimate adventure, life itself. I'm Ken Napzok.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
Jennifer Landa is out today, as you can see. It is a holiday week. For those with young kids who have kids home from school, can probably sympathize and understand completely. So Jen sends her regards. We're going to be taking a look at Star Wars news. Two big stories to dive into today. One centered around Leslye, Headland and the Acolyte. Another one, Jon Favreau, and a little thing called The Mandalorian and Grogu and The Mandalorian show. Before we get to all that, I want to remind you that today's show is brought to you by a shop on Fourth Wall Shop. What is this? Fourthwall-shop.fourthwall.com. ForceCenter, God damn me. We're live, baby. We're live. Good luck.
I don't know. Seems like a summary of modern times of it's on the dash with the dot in the shop and the
links down below.
Smash shop. ForceCenter-shop.fourthwall.com.
I don't know. Pick up a t-shirt. God damn it. All right. There you go. We're going to catch up. We also have some goals too. Subscribe, hit the like button, hype, tell your friends. If you're listening on the podcast, God bless you, because we're still in our hearts podcast first. Even though we pivoted to video a couple years ago. Joseph, let's talk some life adventures. Let's press on. Let's find our footing here. How's your life going? Is your life better than my words?
It's fine. My life actually feels like your words. So in all honesty, I have very little to complain about. I'm so happy with all of the kind support and help with the film I've been working on, Dead Media, and really proud of the film. The premiere in Minneapolis went fantastic. But there's always a little bit of a weird valley when you finish one big project and are starting the next, and the next big project is getting it out into the world. So I'm in this weird kind of valley place, and also I have a little bit more time to pay attention to the world. That's not great all the time. So it's just a weird time, and I'm trying to accept that it is a weird time for me. So that's my main life adventure of I'm working, but then my wife will encourage me to relax, but then I kind of feel guilty when I relax, but then I feel guilty for feeling guilty about relaxing. And this is back in the day. This is when I would play a video game, because it's like, okay, I can't quite get my head focused and I needed to be doing something, but I'm not a gamer right now. I don't really have anything set up. So it's been an interesting time to be me.
Well, look, I got two solutions for you, Joseph. Have you ever considered buying a Nintendo 64 from your friend?
I have.
You let me know.
A lot.
You let me know when you're ready. I'll drive it over. And two, I plugged for a show I put out this morning on my own YouTube channel. I have a show every Monday called a Monday Morning Show, which is kind of me looking ahead to my week and what I'm dealing with, maybe emotionally. And I'm dealing with the exact same thing of, I am not doing anything on Thanksgiving. I'm not going to anyone's house. I'm not going to any relative's house. No Friendsgivings, which is a term I hate, which makes me want to not be a socialist when I hear the term Friendsgiving. I'm staying home. I'm watching football. I'm getting food from a grocery store, and I'm not doing anything. But the battle is exactly what you're talking about. It's hard for me to do that. It's hard for a lot of us to do that. It's not just simply about turning off your mind. It's just like, I shouldn't be. I'm not in a position in my life where I could take an hour off. But you need to. You're going to succeed. I'm going to succeed. And I boiled it down to the lesson this week was, I have the privilege to be bored. I hope I get bored on Thursday, because that is a right that not everyone gets to experience. That's a feeling not everyone gets to experience. I'm going to put my feet on the ground, take a deep breath, and go, I can be bored today. I'm going to be bored.
That is what you need to be thankful for this year. Yeah. Is board giving rather than friendsgiving.
It's hard. It's hard. It's hard. You have all those things of, not, for us in the arts kind of pursuits, there's always something I need to be doing. I am 6 videos behind on my ASMR channel. I have a project from Rick Ellis I promised I'd edit. We shot it in September. I'm still not done with it. And so to just sit down, there's that voice in your head going, you loser. You need to get back up and get to work. And it's hard, and it takes a toll.
Yeah, no, and for me social media is geared to make you're missing out, you're missing out, you're missing out, you're missing out. So every time I get like, oh, you know what? I did 5 minutes of work. I'll give myself a little break. I'll look at social media. Social media is like, you fool, you incompetent. Why aren't you running faster? So good times.
Yeah,
Good
times indeed.
Good times. Well, my only real Star Wars adventure is I did pre-order the 3 3/4 The Stranger action figure. I'm
Nice.
trying to slow down on the old action figures, but I wanted to contribute financially, put a financial vote in for The Stranger.
Very good. There you go. Kymir needs a vote. He needs a vote. Yeah, my life. I was gone this weekend for a quick 24 hours to my hometown. That took a lot out of me as well. But I mentioned it on the show that's coming out on Wednesday, our Visions Breakdown. I mentioned it in passing, but I had an interesting experience where I was hanging out with my cousin and his wife, who's also the mayor of Burbank, and we were at an event, and it was kind of fun to just watch everyone kiss the mayor's ass and have the mayor be like, "Oh, that person wrote an article about how they hate me. Now they love me." It was a fun political. I felt like being at a party with Mon Mothma. In the middle of that, somehow Game of Thrones comes up, and somehow season 8 or how the show ended. You know, I'm a season 8 defender. Not that it doesn't have its faults. Blah blah blah. And I get a little aggressive sometimes because I'm just tired of having the argument. But a curveball showed up where this kind of extended family member was like, "Well, what's your favorite Star Wars shows?" And I just kind of, I was already fighting, so I was like, you know, I like Book of Boba Fett. And they're like, "Whoa, actually, I really like Book of Boba Fett. I really agree with you on that." And that was the best curveball I've received in a while. I was at home plate. It was a called strike 3, but I was like, I'm happy that you actually understand and like Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett. It was very encouraging. The fans are out there of all the shows, and doesn't mean one's better than the other or this or that. Just you know, I love that wonky show. Then I walked home, and this actually pissed me off. Just I was like, why? When people ask me what are your favorite Star Wars shows, I truly do have something I love about all of them. That's real. But why do I kind of forget Skeleton Crew? Even though I think it's my favorite show.
Maybe
I don't know why that happens.
Maybe just because it I think it flew under the radar. I'm sure there were some people who complained about it, but it felt like mostly people just like didn't watch it because they're like the same kind of people who tuned into Boba Fett and got really mad about it. And we're going to talk about Acolyte or even season 3 of Mando or Kenobi. Like it just felt like people like, oh, that one's for kids. I won't watch it. I've got other things to be mad about on the internet. So maybe it's the blissful escape from negative discourse that is making it not rise in your mind.
And we're going to get into our news discussion here, which might be about online discourse and shows. I think there might be a subconscious thing. You just made me think of something. Maybe I don't bring up Skeleton Crew because I love it so much. It is kind of in this soft, warm, untouched corner of the Star Wars fandom sphere. And I want to keep it there. And therefore, I don't want to bring it up at a party and have someone go, "Oh, that sucked." Like I want that to be there. And I don't even have to defend it.
Also, I like that somebody who is involved in government would like the Book of Boba Fett in any way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Because Boba Fett is about, we live in a society. And we need to make choices. How are we going to make those choices? Got a lot of great comments rolling through like this from Osvetnik. We still have people when they're imperfect, so why not a television show or movie? That is a sentiment close to my heart. Temple of Doom is my favorite Indiana Jones movie and one of my favorite movies because it was made by 2 depressed dudes going a little too far, and you feel it in your heart. It is imperfect, but that's it feels. I think something when something's a little imperfect, it feels alive, and I don't need everything to be perfect. I like things to feel alive.
Yes, and that includes my AI actors.
Oh, God, I'm not going to get myself started. I'm just not gonna. Alive. I also want to share this from Gaz Nottingham real quick. I had a Star Wars adventure. I found a listing for a 1985 Kenner Amanaman 130-pound with staff, arranged to buy. It was a 4-hour drive. That's a lot of UK. It turned out to be a knockoff. The hunt continues. That's so painful. that's so painful, but I'm glad that Gaz spotted it. And I think there has been some concern that Mon will shoot up in value if featured in Mando and Grogu. So the hunt continues indeed.
The hunt continues indeed. Well, there's our life adventures. A vibrant conversation about our lives in many directions.
Yeah.
We'll do this. Let's get to some Star Wars news. Leslye Headland speaks. Jon Favreau's been writing and was writing back in the day here. But Joseph, you're going to take us through these two big stories that might, who knows where this discussion's going to go. I'll be honest. I don't know.
Yeah. It's, some fascinating stuff. We're going to start with Leslye Headland's speech. And I want to give this some context because I know a lot of us just will see the Star Wars quotes pulled, and there's a lot of Star Wars quotes. But this is, in my opinion, this is Leslye Headland speaking out. This is an article and an interview in The Wrap, a reputable trade from a experienced entertainment journalist, Adam Chitwood. These quotes aren't coming from a creator getting cornered at a red carpet for a different movie. This is a spotlight article that is about Leslye Headland, about her production company Shoot to Midnight, how her opinions about the state of the industry, and how she is pivoting toward working on some feature films while television, and particularly streaming television, figures itself out. So in my opinion, these words from Leslye Headland are her choosing to sit down for an interview at a reputable trade and kind of announcing, hey, I'm back. I'm still working. I want to acknowledge the cancellation of Acolyte because everyone is going to ask me about that. So I'll give my honest feedback about that. But I'll also make sure that I'm speaking about what do I want to do next as a creator? What is the state of the industry? So this whole thing feels to me like I'm not going to be swept away and defined by the cancellation of Acolyte. I'm going to speak out. I'm going to keep working, and I'm going to sort of redefine my own narrative. So I wanted to give that impression of the context. And really, I know we're all busy and we get swept up in the Star Wars pull quotes. But if people have strong opinions about this or Acolyte or Leslye Headland, really strongly encourage people to read the entire context of an interview that she chose to give, not somebody being cornered at a red carpet where a lot of our quotes come from.
Well said.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the context, Ken?
No, it's important. It's important for all of us. But like I said, I had a very busy weekend and didn't get a chance to engage with the article till today, and so you just kind of see, and you see it roll out, and it should roll out, and no problem with people posting it or making Instagram posts about everything, but you see it roll out and you just start to form opinions on other people's opinions on it, which might tie into some of the things Leslie's saying.
Yeah. So she did talk a lot about the Acolyte. So we're going to share some quotes and talk through them. She talked not only about the show and its cancellation, but some of the negative reaction that isn't about the show, but is simply about people reacting poorly to women and people of color. But she also talked about the general state of television and also about the state of folks like us, Ken, folks who talk about Star Wars. Here are some key quotes. She says, I was not surprised by the cancellation. I think I was surprised at the swiftness of it and the publicness of it. I was surprised by how it was handled. But once I was getting particular phone calls about the reaction and the criticism and the viewership, I felt like, okay, the writing's on the wall for sure. So we're going to take a look at just that quote, and we'll talk about much more. But Ken, how do you feel about the cancellation announcement? It was fast. I refreshed my memory. The show ended in July, and the announcement came in August. In all the trade papers on the same day, so you get the impression that Lucasfilm picked up the phone and was like, we want the word out. We canceled it. So, and that is different than other shows. We can talk more about that. But how do you feel about the announcement, and why do you think Disney and Lucasfilm maybe handled Acolyte differently than they have handled other things?
I honestly at this point don't know. It truly was a public execution where all the other shows. I mean, this to me is the only show that has been canceled. Right? This is the only one that's been like, here's the axe. Book of Boba Fett. I don't know. We're just never going to answer, and we're not going to release things about it. Yeah, I don't know. You figure it out. It's like in Office Space. Just yeah, well, we fixed the glitch in the payroll.
Yes,
Milton's not going to get paid, and he'll just figure it out eventually, right?
Yep.
And
burn down the building. Yep. Sorry for the spoilers for 1999's Office Space. One of my favorite.
Get it, burn the place down. And so yeah, that's yeah, and I just feel, I guess just hearing her describe this, like, yeah, I kind of knew it was coming. And then just to have it so out and about, even before she maybe even had a chance to react to, who knows? Sometimes I'm sure they probably told her maybe before, but that doesn't always happen. Sometimes people find this stuff out in the trades, right? Or a tweet or a call. Hey, I'm so and so from such and such publication. You just got canceled. Like, and I just like, I do think we could talk about the show. I think the show deserved to go on and find its footing. I think the show had a lot to say and a lot to complete with this journey, but. I'm a big fan of Leslye Headland, big fan of her talking about Star Wars. And I she'll never appear in a Star Wars podcast again, probably. Like I could just listen to her talk about her thoughts on Star Wars for hours. And I think that's lost probably forever now because of the way they handled it. And I don't have the corporate answer for it.
Yeah. And I mean, she goes on in the interview to say like, hey, I get it. And I'm not mad. I had a really good time. I'm sad. But I get it and all that. So I think she's being honest that it was more the method. For me, I do feel like Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi is like, okay, well, they're both open-ended, so they could continue, but they're also like not ending on massive cliffhangers in promises of more storytelling and unanswered questions that have been actively teased, like Acolyte. Ahsoka, it took a little while, but it got renewed. So Acolyte's kind of in this rough place where there aren't. I think Ahsoka and Mando are the shows closer to it that didn't get canceled. But I also kind of feel like, well, if you look at the film side, I don't know if that Taika Waititi film is ever happening. I think that Patty Jenkins' version of Rogue Squadron is pretty much done. I don't think Rian Johnson is making a trilogy before he's 80 years old. And none of those were like, hey, world, we want you to know it's done. Those are just sort of soft pedaled of like, well, things come and go. We're in development. They could have just said, the streaming industry is really in a place of change. We're in a transitional place at Disney and Lucasfilm, and we love Leslye and we'd love to see it happen, but we just don't know right now. They could have absolutely said that for months and months and months. They made a choice to go to the trades and go, it's done.
And more on the Disney side, even more Lucasfilm, right? Like this was like,
I mean, I would assume so.
Papa Mouse House going, we're gonna clarify this for real.
We want you to know the door is closed. So for me, I feel like the Acolyte is so complex because it was a very different kind of Star Wars show set in a different era. All that. But I personally, I do feel that it was they don't want to lightning. At that point, Leslye Ellen even talks about the interview. It's like, I wish we hadn't been coming out in an election year. And I think they didn't want a lightning rod. I think they didn't want to either have to push back very publicly against the sexists and racists. And they didn't want to have that. They just didn't want, I don't think they wanted to have the battle publicly. I think they just wanted to not have the noise in my opinion. Leslye Headland also talks about the viewership. She says, the viewership was a little muddled for me because, and this is my understanding, with Star Wars, you're not just measured within the marketplace that you happen to be in at that time. You're measured against every other Star Wars show. So I think Acolyte was also, there was something about, the conversation about like, well, it cost a lot of money and it didn't have a return on investment. But we're not dealing with back in the day where, hey, the second season of Twin Peaks, the viewership went down and there weren't enough car ads to afford it. The Nielsen numbers weren't there to equal money, and streaming is out now. It's like, well, did you lose subscribers? Did you gain subscribers? What we don't the metrics aren't there. So just accepting it didn't do well enough for the money. Yeah, that is, I'm sure that is a part of it, but it doesn't feel like it's all of it.
Yeah, it's hard to answer. It's hard to understand, and you hear all these creators going through this as well. And we're in this again, swung through a article posted. I did not have a chance to read the article of how much Andor may have cost in the end, 700 million or something like that. Someone can correct the numbers in chat, but it's like, but obviously the reception was different. The conversation around it was different. And I don't know, you and I both know so many people in this town who've like, I don't know how many people are watching my show. I don't know what's supposed to be considered a success anymore. And that add that on top of that, the what was swimming around the show. It's a tough thing to understand. I just don't understand the metrics anymore.
Yeah. And I mean, and Leslye Headland also talks in the article about like, it was a risk. I always knew it was a risk. And, Anyway, we'll move on to a little bit more about what Leslye Headland had to say about the impact of YouTube and podcast coverage. She says the content that is being put out by the streamers or the studios is being snatched up by these other creators. And so commentaries, synopsis, live videos, all the ways that these creators make money through viewer-based ad revenues and their Patreons. There's a lot of money to be made. And by the way, have at it, she says. Get your coin 100%. But it revealed to me that there is a misunderstanding between the studios and that engagement. They think of it as fandom, and in ways it is, but studios use it almost like this focus group. It made me start to think, rather than these fans are toxic or this thing is being mean to me, it made me think more that the content being made about Star Wars will ultimately be more culturally impactful than actual Star Wars. I believe we're headed into that space. She also says, this is a proper business model rather than a bunch of mean people. It's a lot more financial than I think people realize. And as somebody that really has supported a lot of these channels financially and with my eyeballs, some of that stuff is probably the only content that a younger generation is seeing. So this is fascinating to me. Leslye Headland and all the interviews building up to the Acolyte really made it clear of like, yeah, I grew up as an adult, as a Star Wars fan, and been on YouTube. And now she's saying like, hey, I straight up pay money to some of these channels, and that this isn't the same as, individual fans starting little clubs and writing into Bantha tracks or Starlog, or, even back in the day with the show like Jericho of like, let's form up and all send nuts to the studio so they'll renew Jericho. This is an economy onto itself. And she nails that in this discussion. How did reading all of that just sort of affect you on in emotional level? You're a fan of Star Wars, but this is something that you and I do as a part of our living to survive. How did hearing all that affect you?
It affected me in several different directions all at once. Some that make me sound and feel like an old grumpy man. Some, which I'll confess something here in a second, that makes me kind of look inward. And also, I think she's 100% right. It is this industry. And I'll start with here. Like we're blessed to do this. Our show is truly about community. It's about celebrating this big thing called Star Wars. And as we approach our, we're in our 10th anniversary, approaching our next year of broadcasting. It's crazy. This has lasted this long. And I'm so thankful. It's one of the reasons I actually put food on my table. It's truly one of the only things that's worked. But I have a weird relationship with it. And I don't know if you feel this way. And it's maybe truly our age or generation. I don't know. I didn't move here to LA to do this. And when digital media started exploding and it was like, hey, come on my show and talk about Star Wars, talk about movies. It was like, great. Oh my God, it's amazing. And this is the confession. I'm being 100% truthful here. I've always felt guilty and wrong about it because it felt like a cheat. It felt like this is not what I'm a broadcaster. My show, The Blatherings, a radio show. But when I'm talking about other people's art, and that should be my art. You know what I mean? That's why I moved here. And so I've always had this weird relationship with it that I've never fully believed it or even maybe taken the deep dive into making this even bigger than it could be because I feel guilty. Does that make any sense? You just made a movie.
Yes.
I feel guilty, but this is the thing I got known for.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I think for me, yeah, I moved here to do stand up and to get my foot in the door in writing, and then as we've talked about, is a beautiful thing. That's like ForceCenter was one of the things I've done creatively that just worked. We talk about Star Wars. It's fun. People like it. They are they very kindly support us, financially. It just worked. Everything else is like this uphill battle, and it just worked. But I have had moments of like, but I don't want to talk about what other people have made. I want to make things. That's part of the decision. I just need to make the film because I love doing this. And one of the reasons I love doing this is the community is getting to connect with all sorts of other Star Wars fans, and how much my horizons have been broadened, and it's made me enjoy Star Wars in a really different way, to not just sit down and enjoy it for myself. And then maybe 3 months from now, I'll have a drink with a fellow Star Wars fans and we'll make some jokes about what was good or bad about Mandalorian, but instead to watch an episode of Mandalorian and know, wow, other people are going to be really excited about that, or other people are going to be really uncertain about that, and get to be a part of this community. So like, there are so many positive things about it, which is why I continue to do it. But there is almost like what Leslye Headland's talking about it of like, I fear a world where the bottom floor does not actually support everything that's built on top of it, which is like, to me, the art should be first. Like I back in the day, I used to fantasize about telling some kind of story of a DVD where there's no movie on it, but it's just the bonus features. It's just the making of and outtakes and a music video. But the heart of it, the reason has been devalued or disappeared. And I don't feel that way for our community, because we continue to talk about the heart of the thing itself and what it means. But the way I see, especially clickbaity kind of coverage talk about it, it just feels like a piñata. It just feels like we need something to praise or rage over, and if it's not Star Wars, it could be something else. That she talks more about the sort of differentiation between the kinds of Star Wars talk that there is out there, and we're going to talk more about that. But I definitely do. I wrestle with the art should be first.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, it just maybe goes far beyond even what she's talking about. I don't know. It's just, but this is what the article made me think of. Just like, even now, along the way, you'd meet people. Oh, I want to make something, and now they're like, I want to talk about something, which is a career choice. It's a viable career choice that I'm going to continue to participate in. But the societal impact, I think, is starting to be felt with some of the stuff she's talking about. That, the amount of people I run into who are like, I didn't watch that. I heard it was bad. That was the conversation I was having about Game of Thrones. Someone, my family member saying, oh, I didn't start that. I wanted to, but people said I'll be disappointed in the end. I was like, first of all, no, it's not the case. But also, how do you know that? Like, that's their take of it. And they're probably just looking at some YouTube reactor that didn't like it. Like, people aren't forming their opinions anymore. They're not engaging with the art anymore. We know media literacy is dead, blah, blah, blah. But like, why don't you just watch it yourself? Why don't you do that? And the amount of people, I didn't watch Solo. Why? I heard it was bad. Who told you that? I heard there was reshoots. Why does that matter? Well, because a lot of shows that I was a part of made it matter. Because that helped us. That helped fill time.
Yeah, I think the other thing for me is just hearing her talk about it, and we're going to talk more about what she said, but hearing her talk about it in such a sort of clear-eyed way when she has every right to be emotionally affected by it, career affected by it, financial affected by it. It's just like how passionate I am that all of this art is humans. It's all humans. I still have friends who just like call Disney the mouse, and like, yes, Disney is a large corporation, but good and bad, it's humans. on the good side, we have like artists like Leslye Headland and Dave Filoni and, you know, countless other people who they're putting their heart and soul into it. And it is truth. And that is the art. But even the monstrous stuff isn't a nameless, faceless corporation. It's people on boards. It's a Bob, Jay Baker Iger or whatever. So I think for me, just like a part of it with all this is just like human. The good stuff is humans. The bad stuff is humans. And just kind of turning these decisions into the faceless corporate monstrosity. Like I get it, but at the same time, just like how many things in our world can be explained by no matter what echelon of success you're at, it's high school. And if you're a CEO of a major company, you're comparing yourself to other CEOs and like, is this Bob getting invited to better parties? Is this Bob have a better legacy? Well, I'm going to make all these choices about human stuff. It's all human. And in this weird cycle that we're in of Leslye makes the art, but she's been informed by watching these shows all the time, but then we respond to it. And then she talks about us. And now we're here talking about her again. Yeah. All of that is human, you know?
Yeah. And it's, I think in terms of reaction, and maybe this leads to some other spots you might want to go to as well. Pretty good reason to believe Leslye has listened to some of our stuff.
I'm sure we're on lists of, hey, might not agree with them. They might not like parts of our show, but I think we're probably on a list that says, okay, numbers, not assholes.
Yeah. And that's always, I always try to remember that. Yeah. The face to the, there's a face to the people you're talking about, the humans, like you said. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you have more thoughts on that, but I thought about, and I don't mean it like a Leslye, like her and I actually have DM'd. We DM'd. I was like gave her a big thumbs up, encouragement, like, and then she kind of moved off social media. That was good. That was cool. I was rooting for her. I still love her and Star. I wish there was more. But yeah, did that affect you in any way too? Just her being like, yeah, I'm out there on the streets, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm such a fan of her, and I'm such a fan of the risks that she took in Acolyte. I'm a fan of the Acolyte being set in a different time. I'm a fan of it being more diverse. And then there are parts of the shows that for me as a viewer frustrated me or didn't work for me. And honestly, I just kind of felt like I need to be honest. And I'm glad I'm honest, but it's also like, oh man, the human part of it of like, it's not a product. It's her and all the other people's sweat, blood, and tears. And even if it didn't work for me, I had that moment of like, I hope I expressed the things that I didn't like with kindness and empathy and a recognition of subjectivity. Yeah. Those things that didn't work for me, other people loved, Yes. So I had that emotional reaction too of like, I don't want to be doing this to hurt people's feelings.
Yeah. No, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah. It's easy. When I started this, it was snarky. It was fun to be snarky. That was how we grew up. You made fun of the news. You made fun of is the story of the day, Monica Lewinsky. Yeah. You make your jokes about it because you're detached from it, right? Jar Jar sucks. Jar Jar sucks. You make fun of it. Oh, did he try to kill himself? Oopsie. And I think maybe our generation more than others have picked that up along the way. And so that I did have an emotional reaction to some of this,
I think especially like, growing up in the Midwest, that was definitely my experience, that people felt like Hollywood was this extremely powerful, faraway thing. And like, how could you're throwing a rock at a giant in armor. How could you ever hurt them? Like, they're humans. They're people. Anyway, General Cameroni says empathy woke. That's woke. I think that's problem. Anyway, so moving on a little bit here. What do you feel like the role of I don't love the term, but for lack of a better one, content creators is or should be? What do you think is a good balance? So like, show comes out, what are we doing?
I think I can only see it in terms of what we do here is the whole engage with the art that's presented, but connect with the community around us. It's like I choose to not be involved in the communities of shows or movies that don't move me, right? Like that's just the way I think I now function. So I love building up a community of those who are around us. It doesn't mean we don't want to be honest. I personally ran into it a little bit. Like Ahsoka tried me in a lot of ways. Ahsoka still, as a series, tries me in a lot of different ways. And I've got to be honest with you. Otherwise, I am what you say, or what I was accused of in 2017 and 18 of being a shell. That dumb, ignorant statement that had no truth to it then has even less truth to it in my life now. But I also got to be honest. But I also felt it was a betrayal of what we tried to do here. We're talking first, but we're listening more than anything. So I want to do that. I want to build up the communities around these things because I still like these. I still think the idea of after show podcast stuff is just fun, and I like being in on the joke. Right? I like having fun with things. There's so many people in my life who love Wicked in the movie and had a big weekend. I don't love them. I don't like people singing when they smile. It's just a personal thing. But I have fun with it. It drives me crazy. It drives me crazy.
This is just really funny because I had a conversation with my mother-in-law about this. Very quick side tangent. My mother-in-law has been incredibly supportive and helpful with a horror film. She's never seen a horror film in her life. And I was trying to tell her, like, maybe you don't want to come to the premiere. She eventually did. And I was having a hard time getting through to her. And I was like, okay, so you love musicals, right? Imagine people just rejected it as a concept. They hated it. Because like telling her, like, the point of a horror movie is to watch people have horrible things happen to them. That's the point of it. It's not a mistake. We want to have, and she's like, imagine you ran into somebody who just said, like, singing is bad and it shouldn't happen. And she was like, how could they ever like a musical? Right? Because it shouldn't be. And she was like, oh, I get it. So
it's never jabbing me. But point is, I use my show, The Blathering. I hope people are in on the joke. I'm just usually you said something once that changed the way I viewed my comedy, as you often do. You're so insightful. But we're talking about something specific, but you're talking about, like, sometimes comedy, a lot of people approach comedy as I'm right, the world's wrong. And then you like the idea more. And I just was moved by what you said of how about the world is right or the world is the world, and the battle and comedy is me adjusting to it. And I think a lot of my comedy, even on my show Blatherate, is just me saying, here's a stupid thought that isn't necessarily right. Can you please help me through this? And that includes singing when you smile. I think all singing should be about heartbreak, but that's a different conversation. But this is to answer the question of what we're doing here. Sorry, this is a tangent-filled episode. But but Leslye Headland made me, more than any other creator in the Star Wars space, I think she gets it. Like, I don't even know if Dave gets it because Dave's so above some of this stuff. I don't think John gets it because he thinks MySpace is still a thing. Like, even though he used Instagram and doesn't know how to focus his camera, you know what I mean? They're above. Like, John's paycheck he doesn't have to engage with this stuff. Leslye came from this, right? Came out of this kind of stuff. Like, she would have been making fan films, like actual legit fan films on her own if she didn't get into this line of work, and she understands. And so her thing about, I think a lot of people view this as fandom. So when you see a dumb headline on a thumbnail with red eyes, like, you think, oh, that's what they're saying. And I have this conversation all the time with people off air of just like, I was among, and it includes you and Jennifer and everything, but because I was more regularly over at Collider, like, I was on the front lines of realizing this is no longer about Star Wars. This is a culture war. These aren't fans of Star Wars complaining. Some are. And if that's you, know that's you. You don't need to say it's you. But there's this, and I was like, oh, the bullets are whizzing over my head. It's different now. Gamergate never ended. Gamergate still goes on to this day. And I mention it to people, and they go, what's that? So a lot of people are unplugged. Leslye is plugged in. And she's spitting some truths. And that's why this spawned out of your question of going to, like, what's our place in all this and how do we approach it? I don't know. Celebratory and community.
Yeah, I think community is important. I think Rad's RFC puts it in a great, concise way. I think conversations about art is valuable. Creating and connecting to others about art is valuable, but how we do it is the crucial thing. Critique and joke, fine, but it needs to be in good faith. And I think that is a little bit what Leslye Headland is getting at as well. She also says in the interview, I also think that any gripes creatively with the show are completely valid. That's people's reaction. It's usually their reaction to their own reaction. But like I said, the show is always a risk. And for me, that's a big part of it, of like, so much art is about risk. And I think what companies should realize about this being an industry onto itself, and a financial model onto itself, talking about art, is that you cannot let the audience lead you around by the nose. You have to take risks. Star Wars only exists because it was a wild risk. Art that doesn't have an element of risk to it starts to feel flat and predictable and boring. And I think to me, it's like, it's fine if the companies want to listen to the audience if it's something productive. If they listen to every show, and every show had a Quinlan Vos week and celebrated Quinlan Vos, and they're like, hey, well, crap, I think we have the audience for a Quinlan Vos show. Like, great. But also, I think if an artist came to them with the greatest Quinlan Vos pitch in the world, they should just make the Quinlan Vos show and take the goddamn risk, because that's what art is. And, the no one asked for this thing. It's like, I get where that phrase comes from, but like, you can't. Yeah. No. Read the Wikipedia of your favorite thing. It will always be, this person took a risk. Half the world said no to him. One person with power believed in them. And then everybody's like, wow, that's the greatest thing ever. Let me make 800 Star Wars ripoffs because we all knew that was the right direction. Like, no, you didn't. You did not.
No, you didn't.
Alan Ladd Jr. took a risk. And that's why any of us are here. And I almost feel like every executive in Star Wars should have a picture of Alan Ladd Jr. on their desk. Like, are you going to be the one who takes the risk? And maybe there'll be punishment, but there might be reward too.
Just a quiet whispering picture of Alan Ladd Jr. Just ASMR whispering. There's a lot of folks even that I work with that I would consider good faith people who use that when no one asked for this thing, which I think is the death of art. It's the death of creativity. And that's part of it's part of where my mind is this week. Laurie Kilmartin, who's a spectacular comic who's out there just slugging her way with truth after truth of the truth, had a comment this week that I saw, found its way to me, where it was like, we're talking about comics who get TikTok famous and therefore just sell out wherever they go, but that's that's where their genesis is. And she was the first person to talk about it without sounding like a grumpy older comic who's not getting those crowds, because that's part of it too. I have that too. I got a show on December 19th. Joseph, you're going to be part of it. I hope you sell out tickets, but it's hard because I'm not TikTok famous in terms of comics, and I got other comics with lines out the door, but they're shitty comics. They're not shitty people. They're not bad people, but they're shitty comics. And she said it. She's like, you got to make strangers laugh. You have to know how to make strangers laugh, because that's how you find out who you are as a comic. If you're just playing to rooms of people who love your million viewed clips on TikTok, you don't know yourself as a comic. You don't know what's making them laugh. You are just playing to the people who are already invested in you, and you don't get to, your art does not get better. And I really praise Leslye Headland for taking this big giant risk. If not every punch landed for me or others, that's fine, but she took this big artistic risk to learn about herself as a Star Wars storyteller. I wish she had the chance to go on.
No, I agree too. And I think all of this is kind of a conversation, as we've talked about, like, imagine what the world would think of Cheers if it was just one season. They're like, good show. Where are they going with that Sam and Diane thing? No resolution. People are talking about in the comments all of the things that we got that no one asked for. DTS 1999, and there was a show that nobody asked for. A lot of people did, like, why do you want a show about one-off character who already died? Who cares?
Yeah. Shut up. Watch the show.
A good lesson, says DTS 1999, that corporals should give more freedom, take more risk in an age where so many creative properties are made to play safe. Same thing with Acolyte. General Cameroni also has a very good turn of phrase here, I think. Let's set it straight. I asked for my sandwich to be made in a certain way. I want it exactly that way. but artists are making their own sandwiches to try. They aren't making my sandwich. Yes. And to me, that is the point of the art of like, I see and feel the world this way. Does anybody else see and feel the world this way? And even with Acolyte, and speaking of community and the positive of this, I really connect to the Jedi, so I connected to it a lot from the perspective of what is the show saying about the Jedi. But a lot of people, in our comments have different life experiences, and they saw themselves in the witches. They saw themselves in May and Osha, and how they were treated by both the Jedi and the Sith organizations. And it was so wonderful for me to be able to see the Acolyte from a different perspective that isn't my own. And the Acolyte, I feel like, is a big cry of, this is how I see the world. This is how I feel. Does anybody else feel that way? Does anybody else not feel that way and want to learn and understand how I feel? Does anybody else want to taste my sandwich? To use General Cameroni's metaphor.
That should be our thumbnail. Do you want to taste our Star Wars sandwich? You've said, as always, sir, you've said some beautiful stuff. And I think boiling it down, the idea of a Star Wars storyteller like Leslye Headland said, does anyone out there see Star Wars this way? Does anyone out there have this relationship with the Jedi this way? And for you and I, there were some things where we're like, not completely. I'll have the sandwich. I have some questions. I'd like to see the rest of the meal. That chance got taken away. Then we had Jennifer Landa's not here. We'll represent Jen. Jen was like, finally, someone saw that sandwich the way I saw it. Someone made it. And that was what was so powerful about it. And all these series. And all these series made within one giant corporation, one well-known, long-established film studio. Yes, corporations, but that's been the game for a long time, unfortunately. But great art came out of that because of that question you asked. Like, does anyone else see the world like I do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's what makes art beautiful and not just a product. Make money.
And sorry, my ADHD kicking it. Like, and I my gripe with a lot of the community, the shows that we all came out of, is they fail to see that. They fail to see the beauty in art. They just have this, what the hell is this sandwich? And therefore it affects everyone. I love the sandwich metaphor. But this show did not meet my expectations, and therefore I'm going to end the conversation. The whole conversation is going to be around my point of view, and that is so constrictive and suffocating for the discussion of art.
I agree, and I mean the sandwich metaphor is great in terms of preparation and sort of distinguishing the sort of the customer is always right. That's fine when somebody else is making your sandwich. Is a great metaphor. The one I think about is like sometimes on social media, like I'll watch a thing that I know a lot of people don't like that I love, like Attack the Clones, and I don't post it because I don't want to hear about it. And the thing that goes through my mind, I always think like, hey, when I eat a sandwich, do you taste with my mouth? Then shut the F up, right? If across the world I'm watching Attack the Clones for the 400th time, do you have to experience it? Then why the hell do you have to tell me that my sandwich tastes bad? You're not tasting what I'm eating. Go to hell. Yeah. All right. So
eat your sandwiches, kid.
Yeah, enjoy your sandwiches. Okay. So going on with the article, when Leslye Headland was kind of asked about the experience of seeing the show get attacked and weaponized, she had these thoughts about analyzing it. She says, "I have thoughts about this, and I don't want to go on a tangent, so I'll stick to the personal rather than the professional." She's talking about during the broadcast of Acolyte. She says, "I was not online. However, I am a Star Wars fan, which means I have always been, since the launch of YouTube, part of the Star Wars recap, criticism, lionization fandom community. These guys I've known for years and years. So when I got the information from others about what the weather report was, there was this real concern from friends of mine or coworkers of mine that saddened me. I also was like, I know who these guys are. You don't have to tell me who's talking about it or how bad it is online. I know exactly who they are. I supported them on Patreon. There are some of them that I respect, and there are some of them that I think are absolutely snake oil salesmen, just opportunists. Then, of course, there are the fascists and racists. So it runs a gamut. It isn't just one thing or the other. So I think that if you're in part of the fandom, you understand the genre and the tone of particular channels and creators. So in some way, I wasn't surprised And then in other ways, I was disappointed. I think you always do that when you create something. It's just that Star Wars is on a massive level of visibility. So again, I think a breakdown that many people have shared about the sort of commentary community, and we've said the same thing, that there are fan channels out there who have their heart in the right place, but maybe legitimately don't like something and express that. We have opportunists who make money by hating things. Even if you liked it, the algorithm is going to reward you if you hate it or put a questioning face on your thumbnail. And then there are the just straight up bad actors who care nothing about media and are just using art as a pressure point to sow division. And that is, that's a fact. Going back to, it's in the documentary where Ryan Johnson's talking about, like, hey, I heard that I've been advised that there are Russian troll bots review bombing the film before it comes out that are like they've never seen the film. They're never going to. They're literally a Russian in a basement doing this as a tactic to sow division. So understanding that there are these layers and for yourself picking out who or what am I listening to, and is this person a sincere criticizer? Is this a person who just knows this is the path to monetization, or is this a person who is simply pressing on a raw point in culture? What are your thoughts about all that?
The frustrating thing is sometimes it's all of them. Sometimes I do believe there's some sincerity in their criticisms. The way they do it is careless. It's elephant in a antique china shop there, a bull in a china shop, whatever analogy you want to use. And therefore, they don't even understand some of the damage they're causing. That's some of the stuff I've been around where this is art, so some stuff isn't going to hit, right? But it's choosing the way that you talk about it is what's became so careless, and so outdated. The snark, the random drive-by snarkings, do not know. It means you don't know who you're hitting. And then I think we all know the bad actors, but even they cling to some. Well, I'm just a fan, but you're so adjacent to the bigger problems, and you're so politically and culturally and socially, and you're leaving. I always say you're leaving the back door open to racism, sexism, homophobia, whatever it might be, and you don't care that your foot's there, and you don't curate your audience, and you're no longer just talking about Rose Tico as a character. You are talking about the bigger social issue, cultural issue, pop culture issue around it that became a news story around Kelly Marie Tran and the character. But you were letting all the bad actors in and then just acting like you're not responsible for it. And I think that's been my biggest gripe over the years, is the lack of responsibility. And even some of the bigger channels and all their theories, you have brought the barbarians to the gate and are going, oh, did I leave it unlocked? Whoopsie.
Yeah.
I'm just a fan who doesn't like this. Whoopsie.
Yeah.
And
I think it's just like, I so agree with you in, even if somebody isn't like twirling their mustache and going, ha, 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 how can you not start to affect you that it is profitable to be negative? If you are talking about something you love and you start to realize, hey, every time I post that I didn't like this episode, I get double the views. It's almost like the entirety of YouTube should just come with a content warning of, remember, it's profitably negative. Keep that in mind as you watch. I had a really interesting experience where some friends had worked on this short film set in the Jason universe, Friday the 13th. There's a weird legal thing where some people own the term Friday the 13th, but other people own the character of Jason Voorhees. So there hasn't been any Friday the 13th / Jason Voorhees content in a long time. And there's this odd, it's sponsored by a cider, so there had to be a lot of apples involved in the violence, but there was a short film. And
Apple violence.
Some friends worked on it.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, I like horror. I'll check this out. And I watched it and I enjoyed it. it's not my favorite franchise. So I felt kind of like I'm kind of floating outside of this. It's on YouTube. So when I pulled it up to watch on YouTube, all of the recommended videos to go along with it were people hating on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really interesting for me because in the Star Wars world, I kind of know this is a good faith person who didn't like that episode.
Mm-hmm.
This is a person who's just money's their bottom line. This person is just a monster. I know that from the Star Wars world. I was looking at all these reviews of this thing that I'm not in the bubble, and I didn't know who I could trust because I didn't watch any of the other videos. I just watched one video and like, I don't know this person. So I don't know if they legitimately hate this or or they're benefiting because that is the more financially successful and viable part of this. There's also an element to that where a woman is empowered. And there are a lot of people who weren't quite sure about that twist. So I just couldn't. It was such an interesting look into the world of like, I couldn't tell who sincerely didn't like it, who was stuck in their ways because they were an older fan, who was an actual sexist and couldn't stand that a woman was empowered, and who was a person who's just like, I'm on top of the system. It pays better to hate. It was really sad to realize I actually can't get community. I actually can't get opinions that I trust without doing hours and hours and hours of research of what horror podcasters can I trust.
Yeah, and if you're a high level executive with a name on your parking spot, and you want to know that you're delivering goods that your audience likes, and this is what you think the audience is, and it's hard for us in the middle of it. I struggle even to fully explain like completely bullshit, kind of bullshit, bullshit. Because some of these people are human beings. I do know, but it's like I don't think they think they're the villains. I don't think they realize it. And if you imagine you're executive, imagine if you're getting a report on your desk or in your inbox or in your Slack. Bloop, bloop, here's what people are saying. You have no idea that a lot of it is manufactured. You don't care. You don't need to. You probably don't even have a Blue Sky account or an extra Instagram account. You're like, oh, I don't do social media. I gave up MySpace a long time ago. Like that's I think a lot of what Leslie's talking about when she talks about the fandom stuff and the focus group stuff.
Yeah. I think our friend Chris Ryan says YouTube's got some work to do on their algorithm because these grifters get way more exposure than the more positive, level-headed channels. And I think that's true. I think our friends at Star Wars Explain, have broken through and they have a good premise of the channel, a good hook for the channel. And I think through that they have built such good community, which so much of this is about. But I also think, I think Leslye Headland is very level-headed about all of this, which is a credit to her because it is so personal and emotional. And she had to know going in, okay, well, I'm pretty sure this channel that I have contributed money to and listened to since 2005, they're probably not going to like it. And they're probably not going to be very nice about it. So, I'm not going to watch all that. But I do think that there's, to her other point about the industry, the business, understanding that this isn't just pure fandom, that it's a business in a business that is more profitable if you're negative. There's a huge responsibility for a company like Disney Lucasfilm to understand that and be discerning about that and build relationships with good faith actors.
Yes, of substance and of substance.
Yeah.
10 cents.
So what lessons do you feel like Star Wars has to say about all of this?
I don't. I hope they do have some lessons. I hope they do take some lessons away from some of it, and hope they, we've already seen that there's a difference where you can say like Star Wars Starfighter is on paper. Like I get it. That's a home run that I'm excited to watch. Like I get it. There's all these things business wise that make a lot of sense. But when you step too far outside of that conversation, it rapidly spins into a negative space for me. I still have friends who tell me, why would they make a Rey movie? No one likes Rey. It's like, are you effing kidding me, dude? Like, are you think that's the case? You think you think this character hasn't inspired? But this is also not new, you know. Did you watch that YouTube video of how Phantom Menace should have gone? It was just that was like, dude, you're 15 years behind the conversation. You clearly haven't had one conversation with someone who was inspired. We were talking about Attack of the Clones on Friday's show, the Dooku fight, and Oscar winner Barry Jenkins saying the Dooku Yoda fight was one of the things that inspired me. Like take that, you Gen X salty cuss about your thoughts of the prequels. Like, and you know, I don't know, lost my train of thought again because it seems uphill. And I want Star Wars or Lucasfilm to, you know, I don't know if their social teams completely get it sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're up against. I don't know if they know what they're up against sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I just feel like the simple story of the actual, you know, myth of Star Wars, you know, don't give in to bullies, and the dark side is quicker, easier, more seductive. You can make money faster. And for now, some of these channels continue to thrive because they have a community. But like as other people are saying in the chat, Hodge, the negativity gravy boat surely has an expiry date. This can't go on forever. The Chud Wars are so griftingly dull. I do feel like at a certain point, there is going to be a shift because how pleasurable is it to constantly be in a stew of anger? Like I hope that there's a shift, but if not, I do think it's on companies to recognize, like, if we put out a new piece, if somebody makes a short, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street video, 80% of YouTube is going to hate it, and that isn't, and some of it is not going to be genuine, and we need to know that going in, and we cannot allow ourselves to be bullied. We still need to take risks and make new things. Yeah,
you hope, and yeah, you hope.
Yeah. All right. Any other big picture thoughts? Any comments you want to grab here about Leslye Headland and the Acolyte?
I think I put some aside. Super chat, thank you. Good afternoon. Midnight Mass. Brian Ward reminds me of working for an YouTube movie news channel that would sync weeks into creating a new show only to drop it after 2 episodes because it didn't immediately become super popular. Brian, don't talk about my shows like that. And Brian also says I spent my whole life studying to be an illustrator, but people would know me for making dumb Photoshops, but they're genius Photoshops, right? I don't. I think you might have pulled some other here.
Yeah. DTS 1999 says, how do all of you, a chat and hosts, engage with friends who aren't bad faith but are fans of some more Fandom Menace creators and their takes? I've only had a couple of these conversations, but I have sometimes when I've seen people reacting to like a bad faith clickbait headline that isn't entirely true. I've only every once in a while gone into like people's Facebook comments and just say like, hey, just so you know, there's other read the whole article. This is a clickbait thing designed to make you mad. You know, it's probably never going to happen, the thing that is making you mad, or there's, you know, every once in a while I try to, people who aren't involved in the community kind of know enough of the game. Yeah. Give them the information and hope that they do something with it.
Yeah, the experiences I've had, I think I've talked about this before. There's one specific experience I had with someone where this is why it's a drama. I don't know if I explain it well enough. When I talk about pop culture, it's fun and it fuels so much of our lives. It's big. I'm talking about pop culture for the last 40 years. I think from Star Wars on, Jaws on, Indiana Jones on, it becomes the thing that influences generation after generation because it's great, fun art. But I think it's still people have a condescending pat on the head vibe for it. And so what happens is, yes, you should be able to have, like I've even said, I should be able to have fun poking a little fun at Star Wars from time to time because that's what we did growing up. But I think people still have that attitude, and I've had friends in my life who are sharing things, not necessarily just everyone from that group, but sharing things, and using that as their take to back up their take on why they didn't like Last Jedi or whatever, you know. And I've pulled them aside, been like, you outside of pop culture, outside of the Star Wars conversation, are one of the most progressive not only feeders, but one of the most progressive fighters online. Like, I see you online all day defending what I would consider the right side of history. What you just shared you view it as just a Star Wars opinion. How do you not see the politics of it? And you were unaware of the people generating those takes and what are in their other videos or what are actually in their videos. You're not seeing it. And how you got to start connecting it. Pop culture is culture. The conversations that we have about this stuff do matter. How you see so many things does translate into how you see the world. I've said that here. You've said that here. Jen said that here. It's one of the things we do here. Everything is political. And how are you missing that what you're taking a part of? And I think it boils down to, well, it's just Star Wars. I'm just talking about a movie. But you are pushing all that stuff forward. I have had those conversations. And it didn't change anything, to be honest.
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard. You gotta just keep pushing. We have this super chat from Fredtastic314. The Acolyte was a show that had a bunch of potential and amazing saber fights, killing off their two popular characters mid-season. I lost my interest. I think, in a way, it's a good way to wrap up our conversation of the Acolyte, is because I think if you're good faith about it, the show can be. It can work for you. It can not work for you. It can have a mixed bag. I think one of the really thrilling things about the Acolyte for me was these characters are wide open. You know, we don't know what's going to happen to them. And I thought it was extremely effective to build such a relationship between the audience and Yord and Jecki to the point where they both had, club names. So, Yord Horde, Jecki Jam. And then to have that power of their sudden, brutal, horrible murder, for me, it was sort of a bummer to lose the characters because I enjoyed the time with them. But for me, it was one of the most successful things that the show did because it made the stakes real. It made the stranger's violence real. It made his whataboutisms even more empty because their lives were meaningless to him. He can poke Soul about not dealing with his darkness, but the stranger didn't deal with his darkness. I dealt with my darkness by letting it run wild and kill these humans. To me, one of the fantastic parts of it. And Leslye talks a little bit also about that they had some broad strokes for season 2, particularly with the stranger, and they had some thematic ideas and some signposts they wanted to hit, but it's not like it was written. And my final thought on the Acolyte will always be the first season was mixed for me, but I really, really liked it. And it felt like a start of a sentence, and I wanted them to have the chance to finish the sentence, because I think some of the things that I struggled with were the beginning of a thought. And I feel sometimes like, there's plenty of movies where I struggle with Act 1, but Act 1's not the whole story. And, I like the tragedy of May and Osha. I just don't feel like it's done. And I like the picture of how did the Jedi begin to fall, but I don't think they finished that story. And I'm just so sad that they didn't get a chance to finish telling the story.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me, is I wanted it to be able to be even more clear about what it was saying or what it was coming down on. I've had discussions with people who are even fans of the show who will enter in Jedi just kidnap people. And then they'll quote something from the Acolyte. I'm like, well, number one, you're actually misquoting Indara. You're misquoting her. And she said we could take your kids with your permission. And also, do you remember later in the show where the Jedi Order, the council back home said, leave the kids alone and get out of there. And so even people who are big fans of this show, I don't feel they didn't get to take in the complete thought. And so if any issues I had, it almost is like this show asked so many questions and we didn't get the answers. And I love questions being asked about Star Wars. Let's question the Jedi Order. George has some thoughts about that, and this was building off that. So that's my big thing at the end. I love your thought there. First act, or it was the first part of the sentence. And it's a shame we'll never get the complete sentence.
Yeah. And maybe we will. Who knows? The future is is unknown, always in motion. All right. Speaking of in motion, let's talk a little bit about Jon Favreau. He had an interview that pulled some quotes from. He talks about he was asked about a fourth season of Mandalorian. And he says, we
Yeah.
were planning on doing a fourth season. I had actually written all that. I still have season 4 sitting on my desk here. Asked kind of about what the movie is like compared to season 4. He says, the story, it's structured around a movie structure as opposed to a serialized weekly television show. So there's a larger throw to the whole thing. I feel like we knew that he wrote season 4.
Yeah, he had said it on a red carpet. Yeah.
I personally don't have clarity of how much he's like, oh, I took the story of season 4 and I reworked it to be structured to be a film. Or he's like, I got season 4 and then I told a different story. I'm still not clear on that myself. What do you make of these quotes and how do they affect your expectations for the film, Ken?
I think it actually makes me more excited, and I was already pretty excited for Mandalorian Grogu being a fun, whiz bang adventure. I don't think you need him to explain more, but just as a former writer, a former lazy writer, I'd be like, I'm going to take about 70% of this show and put it into the movie. It just seems like some of the stuff is consistent with, there's other parts of the Empire magazine, right, of where we left off in 3 and where it might continue in the movie about doing bounties for good, so to speak. I think that still might be there. What this makes me do is form a cocoon of caution around my desires to see more of Kelleran Beck and Grogu and perhaps even Jar Jar. It just doesn't seems like that'd be a season to play with, a good place to play with that versus a movie right now. But I'm keeping hope alive.
Yeah, I think I really agree with you. He's been so focused on, and I'm very happy to hear that, of that he's focused on where did I leave off the emotional story, and at least in the interviews he's talking about Mando. I left this off as he wants to fight on the right side of history. So that makes me feel like he took what are the themes of season 4? What is the emotional arc that Din goes on? Instead of doing that in season 4, I will write a new or altered story to have him go on that same journey, but in a different, bigger way for the screen. Detective McCarthy here is saying, I love that these quotes are a middle finger to the haters who are on they just made season 4 a movie. Yeah, I mean, for me as a writer, that's just not it's like, yes, there's the what and there's the how. And if the what is Din wants to fight for the good side, but that's harder than he thought, and he learned some stuff about himself, and he almost makes the wrong decision, but Grogu helps him make the right decision, and they grow together. That's the what.
Yeah.
Now the how is, does he learn that over a course of one-off missions, or does he learn that in this massive explosion of an adventure? You're still dealing with okay, in order for him to learn this lesson, he needs to be in a situation where he has to make this kind of decision. That's the how. What he's saying is the what hasn't really changed, but the how did, because it's an entirely different medium of storytelling.
Yeah. And I still think there's, not to push back on Michael's comment there, but I think there's still some energy behind Uncle Bob taking off a sweater and saying, John, let's get lunch. Can we do a film? Do you have any ideas for a film? And there being some of we were going to go this way, like you're saying, okay, let's see what we can do with that. But that season 4 could still exist on its own thing. And there's maybe a lot of things that he would still want to explore there. I don't think we'll ever get that chance. I don't think, but who knows? Maybe but if the movie does well, why would you do another movie? So I don't know. It's still there, but I like this. It's a peek into creativity. We're talking a lot about business today, but this is to me a big peek into creativity of how that differs often from what people's perception of it is in the podcast or fandom realm, right? They just took that and made it a movie. It's never that easy. Never that easy.
It isn't that simple. Yeah, and I think if Jon Favreau didn't want to do it or didn't believe he could make a good movie, I don't think he would have done it. Yeah. Do you think that there will be more seasons, or do you think it's entirely dependent on what happens with Mando and Grogu the movie?
It's just every week, because it's just such a state of the industry conversation that we don't have the answers for. We can only have perspective on it, but it's truly a weird time for all of us, and I don't see the viability of a lot of shows going forward, man. You know, Seth Rogen just posted something where he's, you know, they're in the movie that's out now that I think he's in, what, Now You See Me or whatever the hell that is.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, where more people watch that than the studio, which won me awards. And you know, I think people would be shocked if they actually saw some of the subscription numbers, right? And I think a lot of executives over the last few years have been like, that's it. So if this movie, and I'm so excited to see Mandalorian Grogu in theaters. We're months away, kids, months away.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's gonna do well. If it does well enough and the theater experience is preserved, why wouldn't you explore part 2 in a theater or continue the story in the theater versus that? I don't know where streaming goes. I just don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah.
But to wrap it all up, unless you had more to say about the Mando and Grogu movie right now, going back to old Leslye Headland, she had a quote about the state of streaming. She said she was talking about that she pitched recently another IP and felt like it's absolutely the kind of thing that would have sold easily when she sold the Acolyte back in 2018, 2019. But this one didn't sell. So she said, it just started to feel like the amount of money that was going to have to be spent on 8 to 10 episodes of television, that business model dwindled. It started to become something like, well, what are we pivoting to? There hasn't been something that's been ushered in to take its place. I think we're in a very interesting in-between place right now. So this is my thing, Ken, this is that one of those things where everybody feels real smart because they know what the problem is. The true smart thing would be to have a bleeping answer or pick an answer. Because for me, I understand Disney Plus is now merged with Hulu, and you can get it as a package deal with HBO Max, and they have successfully reinvented cable. Great.
They have.
But a lot of us were like, hey, I will give money to the place that gives me Star Wars, Marvel, The Muppets, The Simpsons. Disney Plus launched as a different model of it is the home of new stories that were previously not possible. And I know 2026, we got Ahsoka season 2. We got the Maul show. We got the Ninth Jedi series, most likely. After Ahsoka season 2, they have not announced any live action Star Wars. And I don't think it is actually viable for them to not produce live action Star Wars. So great. If your model of making 8 to 10 episodes of a season every 2 to 3 years didn't work, then if you want to keep a lot of us come up with the new model. Is it do one smaller budget Star Wars that runs 12 to 15 episodes and it comes out every year and you do that for at least 3 years. So it's old school television and people know when it's coming out and build a relationship. Great. Does television not work? Make some made for streaming movies. Do you only want it to be a special event? Make 8-part special events that aren't meant to be an ongoing television show, but everybody knows this is our one and done Asajj Ventress 8-episode spectacular. Just pick something and do it. I feel like the like, ooh, we're in an in-between place. Like, that is true, but they can't be forever because I do think their model depends on producing some live action Star Wars at some point.
Yeah. No, I they're obviously taking pitches and they're still working, gestating ideas. Yeah. It's a confusing time. It's a confusing time. And you and I are out in it here, surrounded. I got a friend who just got nominated for an Emmy and hasn't found work for a year and a half. What's the point here now? It's confusing. And the thing Leslie's saying of like, oh, if I had pitched this in 2019, 3 seasons, here we go. But now no one will touch it. And some of it is just cowardice on ideas, and other is the business is on shaky ground. And what are the long-term ramifications? I don't know. Are we just gonna? This is why I fight against reactor culture. Are we just a culture that stares at people reacting? I guess I hope so, because we're kind of reacting here too. So I can't complain. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, maybe they'll pivot to the companies will make reaction videos. They will announce projects and then cancel them, and then they will make money off of their own reaction videos to their own cancellations.
But
then they'll never have to make stories again.
But to do that, they almost have to secretly create other ones, right? Because all the official, remember that for a while there was that big collection of official podcasts from companies for their shows, and like only one really worked, and it wasn't a podcast; it was a TV show that was Talking Dead. Like all the other ones, like the official Game of Thrones one, like boring. Like there was something that just didn't work. It was something that didn't work. It was Steve Buscemi going, "Hello, fellow kids." Like it just didn't work, and the people on it were fine.
They should have got Steve Buscemi. It would have worked. How do you do, fellow throne heads? Is that what you're called?
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Insane.
Anyways.
Yes.
Bottom line for me, I cannot wait for this film. I'm actually getting really excited for it, and no matter what it is.
Me too. I really trust Jon Favreau to deliver an exciting adventure with heart, and that's really all I need and want.
Look, if we're talking about art as a sandwich, this is our guy. This is our sandwich maker.
He makes real good sandwiches. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to have to take the pickles off or anything.
I'll put the pickles on. Okay.
Yeah.
Catching up with some super chats there. We got this one from Nick. I wanted to highlight this one from Ethan. Svetnik thoughts on the Young Jedi Adventures trailer. I will let you know when I see it.
Me too.
We got you talked about that one. We got SARS. I can never say that. So this is when my backwards letter brain pops in. Snarngad.
Snarngad. Yeah.
Snarngad. Just as I'd keep pushing, and now I've been pushing toward the back of my head, so thank you for that. There you go. Geekerent 7242. How connected to the Heir of the Empire Throne stories that started in Ahsoka do you think Mandalorian and Grogu might be? Speculate responsibly. My speculation that is responsible is almost nil. Almost nil. Passing references, maybe.
I agree. I think that Jon Favreau and the powers that be at Lucasfilm probably want a standalone film. That I know we got Zeb in there, but I think Zeb is just if you know Rebels, you'll enjoy it. Otherwise, he's just like big, cool Star Wars alien. I don't think they're going to get into the weeds of advancing the Thrawn story in a big way.
Yeah, I do have good authority from a scooper that Mandalorian and Grogu does start with Mandalorian himself, Din Djarin, trying hot chocolate. So it's connected to the Heir of the Empire novel.
Oh, and this is how they'll explain Kenobi being canceled. The Kenobi's ghost will appear and say, I can no longer appear to you, Din.
Sorry. Grogu. The movie begins with Grogu. All these Jedi come forward, and then Ewan shows back up and goes, "I gotta leave you now. Why? I don't know. Some sci-fi guy said this is what I gotta do.
Don't worry about it." Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Tim's on catching strays. Fredtastic. Will Lucasfilm ever accept a $500 million Mando box office? They absolutely will, based on the budget. It all covers. Most of films' budgets are marketing. Have you heard that, Joseph? No, $500 million would be a win.
I think so. I think, and I think the companies are getting better and need to get even better about saying what they consider a success. Because yes, this has got to end. Not every Star Wars film cannot be a revelation. It's just be a solid film.
Yeah, there was this big giant boom, man, that we all enjoyed living in, where making $1 billion in there. I just don't think that is where we are now. Maybe we can get to it again, but that's for all properties.
Yep, and also it is coming out in an era where one of our commenters was talking about it a while back, and I agree with like, if you're a casual Star Wars fan and you know it is going to be on streaming in 2 months at the longest, why would you run out? That is affecting. That's why all these blockbusters are having good opening weekends and then drop-offs, and the trades are still like, 86% box office drop. Is like, yes, because the companies have set that up, that everybody in this chat's going opening weekend, right? My mother-in-law might see it someday, but why would she?
Yeah. This is a lot. We got to wrap up this new show, but that is another part of the thing of just like people not covering things the right way anymore either. Of just like what you're talking about. Oh, so and so had a big drop off their second weekend. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. We're all poor and we all don't want to leave our house. And also, everyone at the movie theater's an a-hole. Like I don't go to movie theaters because there's a 30% chance I'm gonna get in a fist fight with someone who's being an asshole next to me. Yeah, read the room. It's like toy collectors. That's a conversation with Ken Plume all the time. Toy collectors refuse to get political, going, oh, these it just costs so much for these figures. Yeah, have you seen the tariffs? Have you had one conversation about the tariffs on your little toy show? No, that's the reason. That's the reason. Have a conversation that's actually based in reality. And I see a lot of people I know doing the breaking box office, big fall off. No, it's not a big fall off. We're in a different world.
Yep. Oh, is it 984M is saying that? That's great. Yep. All right. I want to pull up this final one. I'm going to make ForceCenter and talk about you talking about Star Wars. It has happened. It will happen again.
I used to always have to every week hear about a show doing a breakdown about schmoes and the shit they would say that had no education behind it. So go for it. You would be better at it, Michael, or whoever said that.
Yeah, that's your camera. But Detective Michael ends on this very human, good faith thought. I just hate watching the theater because I can't pause to go pee. I prep so much. I stop drinking fluids 8 hours before I go to the theater.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what has to be done. All right. That's it.
We're out of here. Follow us, ForceCenter Pod, ForceCenter Show on TikTok. Support the Patreon, patreon.com/ForceCenter. Maybe Leslye Headland will be in the Discord. I can't say yes or no. I don't know. Maybe she was. Maybe she was there. I play small of my own stuff so many times. I really want to let people know I have a fun show every week called The Blathering. Come hang out in that community there, but also I have some stuff out there selling some wares. I have a comedy special recorded live in London a couple years ago now, but it's available on Bandcamp. It would be awesome if during this holiday month you would check that out, and also have a musical project I work with called the Moonagers. Brian Tiller and Sean Arnold and myself got a new single coming out December 2nd called End of the Road. You can get that on Bandcamp as well, and all proceeds mostly go directly to the artists as opposed to the other spots where I'll see 2 cents maybe a year from now. Just where can they find your art?
Yeah, you can follow me on Blue Sky and all the other places of the social media. You can check out my YouTube channel. I'm going to be putting out some of the short films that I've done that I have not shared with the world outside of film festivals. So that'll be those will be popping up hopefully in the next few weeks. Also, just a quick update that even though Dead Media, the film, is completed, I now need to apply to a lot of film festivals and pound lots of pavement. And frankly, raise some more marketing funds. So if you're interested in helping me out, I have this agreement with this organization, Film North, that they can collect tax-deductible donations. I'm going to put the link in the chat if you're interested in checking it out. It would be very appreciated. Here we go. There we go. In the chat. Woo!
Ooh, there it is. All right, everybody. React to our reactions. We'll see you next time here on ForceCenter.